Welcome to Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. Go, it's go! Well, I better explain something here. There's different types of LED strips, so be careful. Don't go mad on straight on eBay. I want some LED strip, get it like that. Right, be mindful. If you buy 12 volt LED, so you go to HobbyKing, you buy 12 volt LED and it's marked as blue, you will get a strip of LED that you connect 12 volts to, and it might be a couple of meters long, but it'll be 12 volts and it will light up blue, and that's all it will do. So if you want green, or you want green, it will be 12 volts green. Now this particular brand is Turnigy, which I buy for the modelling trade. And this particular one I've used in mine is blue, and this one is what they call waterproof. I don't know whether you can see, I'll try and zoom in, but it's got like a rubberized protective gel over the top. Still self-adhesive at the back, and if you look very carefully you can see the soldering pads underneath the gel. How would you get to that? Well, obviously if you've cut it to length, what you'd have to do, a scalpel or a very sharp knife, and carefully trim it away without cutting your fingers off. And I mean carefully, because you don't want to damage scrape the excess plastic off until you can get to the soldering pads. And then once you've got as much of it as you can get off without damaging it, I mean, maybe a scalpel might be a little bit too sharp, so use a Stanley blade or a X-Acto blade and just get as much of that plastic as you possibly can without damaging the board, the track underneath. And when you start to see copper, just scrape as much as you can, and then you can solder to that. So if I apply the heat, the gel will all melt and go out of the way, but you've got most of it off, so you should be able to get solder to take to it. And then you just solder your wires onto there. Exactly the same. This is 12 volts. You will see it's got 12 volts written on it, and this is quite good. Like I said, there's lots of different brands and different makes, and if they've got a specified voltage on it, then you're a way to go. But be careful. There is one called RGB, and as you can see, I don't know whether you can see this, but you got 12 volts at that top connection and an RGB. So obviously, depending on, you put the negative on whichever color you want it to be. If you blend the colors and say I put that negative on all three colors, they would be white. So if you mix the prime colors, then you'll get different color LEDs. And these LEDs are 3-segment LEDs, so they will light up the varying colors. The other one will only light up, say, blue. These, you've got the ability to switch or change colors. This is called RGB. But then you've got a digital input. Digital input, you need a controller to control it. So there's a digital signal going in to say, for example, you might have seen these on models and with flight controllers, and what you'll see on the back is the power connection. On this case is ground, and the positive is 4 to 7 volts DC. So this needs 4 to 7 volts DC, but that won't light the LEDs. You've then got a D in, and on the other side of this particular board you've got a D out. So if you had several of these, you could link them together between the in, out, and daisy chain them. And what this does is it has a digital input, and you can actually switch them individually through a controller. So the controller will say, LED number 1, I want you to be blue. LED number 2, I want you to flash green. And you get the gist of it. The programmer will control how it works, and that's how you can get all these fancy lighting sequences on the drones, etc. So these are digital input. Now of course you get these ones like you have around your televisions where they fade in, fade out. They are digital input control LEDs. They've got various sizes, but they generally, if they color changing, they won't be the RGB like that. They will be individual control ones, so you can have lots of different effects and features. So there's digital input, RGB and a fixed colour. So make sure you know what you're getting. For your enclosure, for example, you might say, right, I'm going to run it on 12 volts. So you'll buy 12 volts LED. This was one I put it on for my kitchen unit. Self-adhesive, and as you can see, it's got the little copper markings as you go along. So you can cut it to length, but you can also solder to it. So if you wanted to put these underneath the bottom of your cupboard, and you wanted some on the top of the cupboard, you could stick them up there and then just solder a pair of wires from the 12 volt connection, the solder pads on there, and then hide the wire through the cupboard and solder them on the bottom. And that's what they do. That's what people do. And then up the top then is a 12 volt power supply that runs them. Switch them on, you've got lights. So LEDs are very common, very handy, and very versatile. The only thing you've got to be mindful of is the power supply has to be big enough to run them all, because people tend to go mad and have miles of LED and then a little tiny power supply and then wonder why it gets hot. So that's a little crash course in LEDs. Now back to the video. Bye. And quickly, I'm gonna knock the lights off, and I'm going to show you what it looks like with the lights off, with my lighting scheme. And feeling quite smug. Have a look at this. I put light in at the top to light down. I got a light under there that lights the print as it's printing. And I've got a little spotlight. As you can see, that's the switch. And the switch controls the lights, so I can turn the lights on and off. I've got a camera that looks at the print head, and that's what the camera sees. And it's a nice night vision camera, so when the lights are off, and it goes into night mode, it seems to work well with the blue light. So I can leave it printing and keep an eye on it on my phone. I know there's other ways of doing it, but I am in the shed and it works for me. It was my birthday in January, and what do you get somebody who's got just about everything they ever need? This is the Cricut. This is the Cricut Explore Air 2. What is it? This is a decal cutter. If I wanted to print a sticker, you'd have sheets of vinyl and you'd use a machine like this to cut out the vinyl. So this was a sheet of vinyl. You cut out the shape and the pattern, then you peel off all the excess, and you're left then on the backing sheet just the design that you want. Well, of course, because it's complicated to get off the backing sheet to stick onto something, you put a transfer tape over it, and that's what the clear gridded cover is over it. So this is a red grid on there, and basically you peel off the backing tape and the letters will be stuck on the clear transfer, and they call it transfer tape. So when you peel that off, obviously the clear tape comes, but the letter stays on the transfer tape. Then you simply stick it on, but because the transfer tape is like a gel type tape, you can very carefully peel it off, and then you leave the vinyl stuck onto whatever you're sticking it on. I just fancied having to go make my own stickers, so of course I can program it. There's a little program that goes on the computer, so I can put all sorts of designs in and make some stickers. At the moment, just about everything's labelled. My wheelie bin, the vacuum cleaner, everything's got stickers on it. My wife's going mad. So it's either Team Woolly Sheep or Asbo stuck on everything. So that's the Cricut Explore Air 2. I got one, and I'm learning to use it. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. I'm going to get on with some printing, and we'll catch up soon. Okay, stay safe, keep your mask on, keep your distance, and